It's the worst political crisis in the Gulf region in decades.
ستقوم رباعية من دول أحدها بلده بحصار قطر لتطلب إغلاق الجزيرة.
To comply with a list of 13 demands, one of which includes shutting down Al Jazeera, which is based in Doha.
Basically want to close down independent journalism.
There's a war of words being waged through the South African news media, a war of buzzwords. One of those terms is state capture. It describes something that South Africans say happens all too often, when businesses close to the ANC government of President Jacob Zuma exercise undue political influence and benefit unfairly from government tenders, ending up with lots of taxpayers' money in their pockets. At the heart of the accusations is a powerful business family, the Guptas, who have close ties to the Zuma family and whose business empire spans computer equipment, mining, and media outlets. The Guptas have been fighting back with a public relations offensive and a buzzword of their own. A trove of leaked emails originating from the Guptas and their associates have revealed that, with the help of Bell Pottinger, a PR firm based in London, the Guptas were behind the popularization of the term white monopoly capital, the idea that white-owned businesses control the South African economy. White monopoly capital is not fiction. The country's economy is still skewed in favor of the white population. What the Gupta leaks reveal, however, is the way in which the phrase was planted in the news media and amplified on social media as a counter-narrative to that of state capture. The Listening Post's Nick Muirhead now from Johannesburg on the Gupta leaks and the competing narratives and buzzwords echoing through the South African media.
For a debate on the lack of transformation in the financial
Day, and we're talking about, well, capital, monopoly capital, and the phrase white monopoly capital that's dominated the headlines in South Africa for months now.
White monopoly capital is a loaded term in South Africa. It's used to describe how 23 years after the fall of apartheid, white South Africans still control much of the economy. However, journalists didn't just start using the term.
is to use the phrase white monopoly capital. White monopoly capital.
We have exposed white monopoly capital and those
Rather, it appears to have been planted there by a UK-based PR firm called Bell Pottinger. The firm was hired by the Guptas, a controversial business family with close ties to President Jacob Zuma, a relationship so cozy it's called Zupta. Critics say that the Guptas got rich by using their relationship with Zuma to siphon off vast amounts of taxpayers' money, bend the rules, bully the competition, and pick ministers for key cabinet positions. Systemic political corruption, what South Africans call state capture.
It seems that quite early on, Bell Pottinger came up with the idea to focus on white monopoly capital as a way in which to create and sustain a counter-narrative around the whole state capture story.
You would see that or hear that the narrative is changing. There would be questions about, but hey, why are you only looking at just one narrative of state capture? How about we look at other players that are dominating the economy of our country? So it was through very strategic media forms. It would be social media, it would be radio, it would be television.
South Africa's economy is very unfairly held, and I think most commentators will agree that while we secured political freedom, economic freedom hasn't followed. So when the term white monopoly capital popped back into our discourse in the course of 2016, it caught on very quickly.
Bell Pottinger's involvement in this story was confirmed by what's being called the Gupta leaks, a trove of some 200,000 emails originating from the Gupta family and employees of one of their companies, Oak Bay Investments, was leaked to the press. The leak shows correspondence between Bell Pottinger and the Gupta's close business partner, Duduzane Zuma, the president's son, hatching a media campaign to stop South Africans talking about state capture and start talking about the state of the economy. White monopoly capital was then pushed on social media and by certain political commentators, and that rhetoric was amplified by the Gupta-owned news outlets, the New Age newspaper and ANN7. In one email, an exec at the firm says, for this campaign to be believed and to achieve credibility, there will need to be discipline, continuity and consistency over a period. We tried a number of times to arrange an interview with Bell Pottinger via email and even coming to its headquarters here in London. The firm said that it would not be able to provide anyone to speak with us on camera about this story. Instead, we were given a written statement saying, quote, "It is a matter of enormous regret that this has resulted in so much anger in a country we've been working so hard to promote internationally. We no longer conduct any work with Oak Bay." There is one player in the Gupta-Bell Pottinger PR scheme who agreed to speak with us.
The problem is not the Guptas, the problem is not Zuma, the problem is white monopoly capital.
Andile Mngitama, a former MP and founder of the Black First Land First movement, who has been implicated in the leaked emails. The Gupta leaks allegedly show that you were in contact with Oak Bay Investments in 2016. Shortly thereafter, the term white monopoly capital became a popular talking point amongst political commentators such as yourself. Did Oak Bay Investments or Bell Pottinger or anyone from those organizations contact you to talk about using the phrase?
I hate this notion that Bell Pottinger is the one that planted this idea. It's high sophisticated propaganda. We work hard as a movement, as radicals, as black radicals, to make visible the invisible hand of white monopoly capital.
Why do you care to listen to white people? Listen to us!
So firstly, we deny that these emails are legitimate. Secondly, we understand it is fake news which is trying to delegitimize our discourse.
The argument that this is fake news would be more plausible were it not for the events in Parliament last week. When President Zuma was quizzed about his links to Bell Pottinger by the leader of the opposition, Mmusi Maimane,
radical economic transformation and white monopoly capital are terms that were invented by Bell Pottinger, a PR firm in London. And in fact, they've been shown that these are terms designed to empower a very connected elite.
He did not deny the existence of the media campaign, but rather chose to, as any PR expert would advise, deflect.
You use the words that come from London in the whole speech that we've made now. English. You say other people should not use those words.
The Gupta leaks have not only revealed the troublesome links between the Zuma government and the Guptas, but also how members of the ruling party were being coached by Bell Pottinger. Like Deputy Secretary General Jesse Duarte and head of the ANC Youth League Colin Main, who went on the air and defended the Guptas, which often meant attacking the media.
White monopoly capital also decides what gets printed in media.
I remember watching an interview with Jesse Duarte, for instance, and it was before Bell Pottinger's role had become public. I remember thinking, this is a very polished performance.
It's all about innuendo. If you're simply going to rely on innuendo, this nuanced, this innuendo.
And, you know, I do think that the way in which the interests of these two parties, the ANC or a particular faction within the ANC, and the Gupta family have been intertwined and have been kind of treated as one.
The real elephant in the room, honestly speaking, is not the family. Our problem is not about one family. The Guptas are not the elephant in the room.
We started seeing that the same individuals that we could link to the Guptas either via business or they had visited the family's home, we could see that the same individuals would be the same individuals to come out and defend the Guptas.
Propaganda is most effective when it taps into a reality. And there is a reality to the term white monopoly capital because lucrative sectors in the South African economy remain disproportionately white. That advantage was gained during the years of apartheid, a system that the then white-owned media largely supported or were censored. Since then, the media landscape in South Africa has transformed to varying degrees of success, but because of the complicity of certain news outlets during apartheid, journalists today have credibility issues, especially on a story like state capture.
If you want to be a journalist in South Africa, you have to follow the value systems of white monopoly capital. Otherwise, you're not a journalist. So even where they don't own, they have hegemony of their ideas about how you must report. Don't report white corruption. Report black corruption, then you get elevated.
Do you think that now we don't cover business, understanding that backward telescope, understanding that state capture has always been the way of how businesses operated with the body politic? Perhaps not. Perhaps we write about state capture as if it's a new thing, but it's not. For me, the most Machiavellian thing they've done was to bring in Bell Pottinger and try to take a project for good, which is economic empowerment and inclusion, and turn it so viciously to their own ends.